What is the cult known as the Pale Throng? What ideas are behind it gathering mutants from ab-humans to psychic abominations? And what is the ultimate goal of this intriguing cult? And welcome friends to another 40k video drawing from Dark Heresy, Disciples of the Dark Gods. And the Pale Throng is the mutant cult we examine today. Rightly regarded as the cause of one of the most dangerous threats to the stability of the Calixis sector in recent years, the Pale Throng is a mutant cult whose origins lay on the bleak and oppressive world of Tranche. There it led the wave of bloody uprisings that ignited the infamous Tranche War, whose aftermath still lingers to plague many worlds in the Malthian and Adrantian subsectors to the present day. No subtle cult or hidden conspiracy, the Pale Throng is a crazed and degenerate congregation of shambling horrors and decayed and sickening witch breeds, guided by sinister mutant overlords. Its only goal is to throw off the shackles of its oppression and visit bloody vengeance in an apocalyptic rebellion to destroy the Imperium and ultimately seize control of the future of mankind. Born in a world now made infamous for war and suffering, the Pale Throng has since created and inspired revolts on dozens of worlds across the Calixis sector and beyond. But perhaps greater than the danger that this amorphous army of monstrosities possesses, in terms of the threat to civil order, is the fact that the Pale Throng, and what it represents, has become a blasphemous rallying cry for twisted and disaffected peoples of the Imperium. It has grown to become something of a heretical ideology that offers easy answers to the weak and feeds on the resentment and anger of the oppressed, a rebellious whisper far harder to stamp out than any mere physical foe. At its heart, the Pale Throng is a reciprocal hate for the Imperium's own abhorrence of the mutant and the psyker. Behind this simple hate is another subtler ideology that guides the propagators and masters of the Pale Throng to create rebellion after rebellion across the stars. There is the belief that the future of mankind belongs to the mutant and the psyker ascendant, and to achieve that ascendancy, the Pale Throng must rise up and smash the Imperium's rule by any means necessary. This deeper motivation is based in a belief in the superiority of the mutant. The cult's higher circles believe that the future of humanity is as a psychic race. The Pale Throng not only denies that the mutant is a twisted abomination, but believes that the mutant is a manifestation of mankind's metamorphosis into something greater, something of beauty and purpose, and humanity's passage to this new life form is to be embraced. And that's pretty on point with what the Emperor thought was going to happen as well. The mutant, from the cult's outlook, is superior to the mundane human in any number of ways, sometimes stronger, sometimes able to survive the worst of conditions untouched and more. The mutant is superior, and because of this, it is the mutant that will inherit humanity's future. Expressed in simple terms, to the brutalized and ignorant masses of our humans, subs and other outcasts that toil under crushed oppression, the Pale Throng's ideology offers the prospect of liberation and revenge. It promises an end to their sufferings, and more importantly, a sense of acceptance, and an end to the shame and stigma that imperial culture heaps upon them at every turn. This ideology is a heady and dangerous mix, one that appeals to both the downtrodden and the malign, whether they seek only an end to their pain or an excuse to inflict such pain on others. To many of its adherents, this creed translates into a spiteful sense of self-deluded superiority over the loathed masses of humanity, untouched by mutation, which justifies their grievances against the faceless powers of Imperium. This hubris is amplified 1,000-fold amongst the cult's weirdlings and witches who seek those blunts untouched by the psyker's gift, at best as a natural enemy, and at worst a little more than playthings and cattle to be toyed with, used and destroyed at whim. For many of the cult's higher echelons, the Pale Throng's Shroud masters, mutant demagogues and petty warlords, This is a creed worth risking all for, and is the price of a victory in the coming war between humanity and mutants. To the Pale Throng, the psyker is no foul witch to be abhorred, but a wielder of power more subtle and profound in nature than any normal human can comprehend. This particular heresy is not a new one, but a viperous idea that has flared up time and again in the Imperium's history. According to such beliefs, to witness the gift of a psyker is to glimpse the future where man may reorder the physical, resculpt flesh, and see the true hearts of all. These, then, the heretics claim, are the gifts of an evolution of human form that the Imperium loathes and fears, but also, if you think about it, takes advantage of. The psykers just to transmit messages in the form of astropaths, psykers, the navigators, etc. These heretics believe that the Imperium fails to comprehend the true power, the truth behind it all. That psykers are the foreshadowing of the magnificence that awaits the human race once it has ascended to its true potential. And now we're going to go through a few members and give a bit more detail on those. So whilst the original Pale Throng was a loosely grouped mass of mutants, abhumans and rogue psykers, brought together by the will of the mysterious Shroud Masters, numbered within the rebellious movements that the Throng has fostered are all manner of mutants, abhumans and malcontents, ranging from the deformed twists and subs that labour in the dark recesses of the Imperium's industries to utter abomination and insane rogue psykers of shattering power. So we just mentioned them, let's do a little more info on the Shroud Master. They are the hidden masters of the Pale Throng, who stand behind its activities, fomenting rebellion and gathering twists and witches to their cause. Once joined in common purpose, their brief moment of unity was enough to nearly destroy a world. Though many were killed when their council tore itself apart, many also escaped to pursue their interpretation of the Pale Throng's dogma. It has also been theorised that the new Shroud Masters have risen to take up the dogma of the dead and bring it to the mutant throng. All Shroud Masters are mutants and psykers of the utmost potency, guided by a complete hatred of the Imperium and a belief that mankind must evolve in order to survive. Another important member of the Pale Throng are Witchkin infiltrators. They are a horrific, grey-fleshed mutant breed, originally from the depths of the Tranche Soot Warrens, who possess subtle psychic abilities and a taste for human flesh. Bred in the utter dark of the deep warrens, a Witchkin is a hairless, spindle-limbed, emaciated thing with unblinking black eyes and an impossible wide mouth concealing row after row of needle teeth. Sly, murderous, and above all, hungry, the Witchkin were objects of terror for the troops deployed on Tranche during the rebellion of the Pale Throng. Using suggestive psychic powers and a strange ability to seemingly be almost normal until they are within touching distance, they infiltrate camps in order to pluck away guardsmen, the victims later found dismembered and stripped to the bone by gnawing teeth. As the Shroud Council shattered many of its members, took coteries of Witchkin, with them to be used in uprisings and horror campaigns across the sector. Now I'll touch on two more examples, guys, before I wrap up today's video. First is the Twist Hulk. These are a catch-all term for the largest and most brutally powerful mutants among a sub or ab-human labour caste. Often bulking near an Ogren's build, their ferocity is usually such that often even their fellow mutants will keep them chained and bound between their labours, or shun them and drive them into the wastes if they prove too dangerous. Many are subject to the most abominable mutations, with natures closer to that of feral beasts than men. Throughout the Tranche War, Twist Hulks, also known as Brutes and Rippers, were used as shock troops of the Pale Throng. Gathered from the depths and slaved to the Shroud Master's will, they were unleashed in the close confines of the Soot Warrens, where their incredible strength and fury would leave scores of troops as nothing more than bloody pulp. Twist Hulks are the largest of mutant kin, and are found in every dark and polluted hole of the Imperium. Ever since the Tranche War, they have formed part of most Pale Throng uprisings, often driven to frenzy and madness by their masters, and unleashed to create destruction in the initial phase of a revolt. And finally, probably one of my favourites, a psychic abomination. And the nightmare potential of psychic power given form, unsanctioned, often mutated, their psychic powers are raw and terrifying, and wielded with insane malice. During the Trans-War, the Shroud Council unleashed psychic abominations to destroy entire formations of troops deployed into the Soot Warrens, burning flesh and making men turn their weapons on one another. Even after its disastrous fragmentation, the Pale Throng has continued to draw these walking apocalypses into its ranks and use them as weapons in the opening stages of a rebellion. On that note, friends, and the rise and the gathering of the mutants into the arms of the Pale Throng will wrap up today's video. Comment down below if you've got anything to say.